Okay, so this is one of our impossible questions that the students have asked me to have a go at. It says the height h meters reached by a projectile after t seconds travelling vertically upward is given by the formula h equals 70t minus 16t squared. Calculate t if h equals 76. So in this problem, it is really just a matter of substitution and then solving the equation. So if I know that h is 76, I can put that directly into my formula. H equals 70t minus 16t squared. So I get 76 equals 70t minus 16t squared. And then at the moment, we have been solving equations when they're equal to 0. This equation doesn't equal 0. So what I do is rearrange the equation to make it equal 0. So now my equation looks like this. Okay, we've got several strategies for solving this equation. We can factorise. We can complete the square. We can use the quadratic formula. Or we can use the calculator. Now please be aware, if you are using the calculator and this is a 3-mark question, you won't get marks for your working out. So if it was a 3-mark question, you'd have to show some kind of steps, and that would be steps for either factorising or completing the square or substitution into the quadratic formula. And also read the question carefully. Sometimes the question will tell you which method to use. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do in this problem is divide everything by 2. So I'm going to skip the calculator part. You guys can do that easily on the calculator yourself. I'll show you how I would do this. Now there might be a bigger factor than 2 that goes into all parts, but I'm starting with 2 because I can do it in my head. This becomes 8t squared minus 35t plus 38 equals 0. So now I've got an equation where I do not have a highest common factor that I can take out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this equation and try and work out 2 factors that will make it work. Now I've got a shortcut method for doing this, but the one that a lot of students like is they start with 8 times 38. And this is going to be big numbers to do by hand, but we'll see how I go. So 8 times 38, I do 8 times 30 plus 8 times, 8 times 8, which equals 240, plus 64, which is 304. And now I want 2 factors that multiply to equal 304, and the same 2 factors that add to equal negative 70. So that can kind of be a little bit tricky, and I don't even know if they exist. So I sort of think about my factors, numbers that add together to get 70 that might multiply to equal 304. And I can't think of any at the moment, so I'm going into this space where this is horrible to factorise. So what I might try next is I might say, well, all right, let's try completing the square. So if I complete the square from this equation, 8t squared minus 35t plus 38, the first thing I have to do to complete the square is take out a common factor of whatever's in front of the t squared term. Now again, straight away, I'm getting these horrible numbers. So rather than persisting with that method, a simple technique is to then say, well, hang on, this is looking ugly. I'm going to now, I've tried factorising, completing the square, I'm going to go to the quadratic formula. So quadratic formula, working with this equation, we want the x values, or in this case, the t values, are equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. Forgive me, I've got stuff here that's in the way. I'll just move that. Then substitute in what you know. So negative b, and if b is negative 35, that becomes plus 35, plus or minus the square root of 35 squared minus 4 times, where am I up to? 4 times a, which is 8, times b, which is 38, divided by 2 times 8. Now they're big numbers, but if you were going to work without a calculator, you're expected to be able to do this. And there's a trick for any number that ends in a 5 squared. I just multiply the first number, in this case a 3, by the next consecutive number, which equals 12. So then anything that's got a 5 squared is 25. Put those two bits together, and a super cool shortcut is 35 squared is 1225. I now need to do minus 4 times 8 times 38. So if I do, before we did 8 times 38 to get 304. We already had this up here. So I can do minus 4 times 304. Minus 4 times 304 is 1,216. And it will be a negative. Alright, so this is my rough workings. Keep a nice organised system over here. I've got 35 plus or minus the square root of 1,225 minus 1,216, all divided by 16. So it's 35 plus or minus the square root of 9 divided by 16, which is 35 plus or minus 3 divided by 16, which gives 35 plus 3 divided by 16, or 35 minus 3 divided by 16, which is 38 on 16, which is 19 on 8, or 32 on 16, which equals 2. And here are my final solutions. So calculate t if h is 36. The time is 19 on 8 seconds, or 2 seconds. Done.